Chapter 1.27, Story as a Weapon. Meaningless. The whisper of the static of nihilism was everywhere. It wasn't loud, but it seeped under the skin, into the bones, into the synapses. John saw his crew, his new friends, losing their will. Lilith, leaning against a glitching wall, bowed her head. Her usual sharp wit had given way to indifference. The captain stared into nothingness, his once heroic posture slouched. Tako sat on the ground, his half-eaten burrito, which he had brought along, lying forgotten beside him. Your struggle is nothing but a spasm before the light goes out. No, John whispered, more to himself than to them. He sat down at the typewriter the robots had already set up nearby. His fingers trembled, not from fear, from determination. He had to tell a story, not for them, for this dying world. He began to type. His name was John Reed. He was a scientist, living alone in a mountain laboratory. He thought he was searching for answers in physics, but in truth, he was just hiding from people. The moment the first line struck the paper, the typewriter flared with light, and above them, in Utopia's gray, glitching sky, a hologram appeared, a solitary laboratory on a mountain slope. The citizens of Utopia, until then wandering aimlessly, stopped. Their vacant eyes turned toward the picture in the sky. John kept typing, and the holograms shifted and came alive. He showed them everything. The shock of first contact when his own body no longer belonged to him. The panic and awe when he saw blueprints of the cube inside his mind. He showed them the surreal valley of Schattenwald, the singing snow, sheep dancing in circles, and breadcrumbs drifting into the sky. Foolish, random anomalies, the static whispered. They mean nothing. John didn't listen. He kept writing. He showed them the soldiers' arrival, his fear, and his choice to turn their weapons into flowers. He showed them his conversation with the creators in a dream. His despair when he learned he was only a character. See, thundered the voice. You are nothing, a toy. Your suffering is scripted by another. It isn't real. It's real to me, John whispered, still typing. He showed them his letter of rebellion, his attempt to escape, his horror before the blank page and the word continue. He hid nothing. He laid bare all his pain, his humiliation, his helplessness before this world. The citizens of Utopia watched, and something shifted in their eyes. They didn't just see events, they saw a struggle. And then the story in the hologram reached its turning point. Lilith appeared in her display case. Tako appeared, demanding his food. The airship appeared. John described their flight, their laughter, their argument over who would steer. He described the meeting with the knight and his absurd yet courageous assault on the tower with a magical Swiss Army knife. The voice of the static faltered for a moment. This is not logical. There is no grand purpose in this. It is merely nonsense. Yes, John said, and for the first time in a long while he smiled. Yes, it's nonsense. He finished his story. He typed the final line. He didn't know the meaning of his existence, but he knew he was damned curious about what mad adventure awaited him tomorrow. And he knew he wouldn't face it alone. The hologram faded. The voice of the static fell silent. It had collided with a paradox it could not resolve. How can one keep living, knowing everything is meaningless? The answer was on the faces of John's crew, looking at him with wonder and pride. The answer was in the eyes of the Utopians, now shining not with emptiness but with the quiet spark of a question. The world stopped glitching. The sky above grew clear and bright. Apathy withdrew, leaving behind a gentle, contemplative sadness and hope. John rose from the typewriter. He was utterly exhausted, but for the first time in his life, he didn't feel alone. They had won, not by force, not by logic. They had won with a good story.